Welcome in from LA. Another tough break for a 49ers running back. Patrick Taylor Jr. is heading to season ending injured reserve for the second straight preseason. Khalil Herbert, the veteran, the former Chicago Bear, back to the 49ers to take his place ahead of tonight's game down here in Southern California. Shout out to Redondo Beach. I actually took this yesterday, but it didn't have a chance to put it on a video. It's been a fun week down here. And now the 49ers make a roster move. Very, very unfortunate with Patrick Taylor Jr. This is Dear Jane's in Marina Del Rey. 49ers fan is a chef there. Jake invited us last night, and he gets all of these tomatoes and the ingredients for that salad at the Santa Monica Farmers Market. That was the octopus. We ate like kings last night. And then bucatini with lobster right on the marina there in Marina Del Rey. And that's Jake. He even had his 49ers hat ready for us when we showed up to dinner. So that was fun. A little cameo by RJ there in the background. He's a big 49ers fan. That was dessert. It was good times yesterday in Marina Del Rey. Shout out to Jake. Now let's go through the 49ers roster situation. I could actually make the change here for you guys in real time because this just dropped. I just put that news out there that the 49ers had put Patrick Taylor Jr. on injured reserve and signed Khalil Herbert. So I haven't even changed it on the 49ers depth chart that I run. So here is the depth chart. Let's take a look. It's too bad for Patrick Taylor Jr. because you could see all of these current absences due to injury at the running back position. I mean, McCaffrey, I know it's just tightness, but still he hasn't been practicing. He's not going to play in the preseason game tonight. Kyle Juszczyk has the broken finger. Kalen Black, he's back, so we can reset this. Kalen Black is healthy. But Isaac Guerendo still on PUP for the 49ers. Jordan James still out with the broken rib for the 49ers. So there was a chance that Patrick Taylor Jr. would make the 49ers 53-man roster. He scored that touchdown last week, but with injured reserve now being a thing, and his injury currently is not yet disclosed. We'll find out tonight when I head down to SoFi Stadium and talk to Kyle Shanahan following 49ers Chargers. But with him going to IR, he no longer counts against the 49ers 90-man roster. So we can erase Patrick Taylor Jr., and we can add Khalil Herbert, who was cut just a few days ago by San Francisco. So Herbert is now going to be running back depth. And we can talk about who potentially makes this roster. Guerendo, remember, is still on PUP, physically unable to perform, which is different, very different than injured reserve in terms of the rules. We can go ahead and put Patrick Taylor Jr. on IR down here. If you're placed on injured reserve before the cutdown without a designation, and there are only two of those designations, the 49ers didn't use one on Patrick Taylor Jr., you cannot come back this season. That's what happened to him last year. So he's on IR. He doesn't count against the roster spot. Isaac Guerendo, meanwhile, is on PUP. He was placed there before training camp started. The only time you can be placed on PUP is before training camp starts. That means he is not done for the season. And that means he's eligible for the regular season PUP list. The only way you get on the regular season PUP list is if you've been on there since the start of training camp. So if he does end up going to the regular season PUP list, then Isaac Guerendo will not count against the 49ers' initial 53-man roster. That could save them a roster spot, but he would be ineligible to return for the first 4 weeks. He wouldn't be eligible to return till week 5. That is some of the roster Tetris the 49ers might do to fit as many backs and many players as possible on their 53-man roster. However, if they continue running out of running backs and they don't like anybody else on the street to sign, then they might have to activate Isaac Guerendo earlier if he's healthy from the pectoral tear from PUP, so he's part of that initial 53-man roster. It's unclear what that's going to look like at this point. I think it is worth mentioning that Deebo Samuel has been working out with both the receivers and the running backs. So McCaffrey is going to be good to go. Let's even take the injury shade off of Christian McCaffrey. We know that the 49ers are bubble wrapping him just so we can give this a realistic picture and look at what the 49ers are bracing for. McCaffrey is going to be ready to go. He's running back one. I predicted long ago after the 49ers drafted Kalon Black that he'd be running back number 2 for this team. He's got a burst that the other backup running backs don't have, to be honest. And I haven't seen Isaac Guerendo in a long time. I know that he is a fast burst, but it's been a long time since we've seen Isaac Guerendo on the football field. So Guerendo's on PUP, and until they take him off of PUP, I'm not going to believe that he's going to be on that initial 53-man roster. I would assume that Jordan James will be back in time from the fractured ribs. So that's 3 backs, plus Kyle Juszczyk, who's going to be back from the fractured finger. That is 4 backs, including the fullback. The 49ers typically have taken 5 running backs, including the fullback, on their 53-man roster. So that leaves 1 spot. I thought that 1 spot, the 5th out of 5 spots, might go to Patrick Taylor Jr. Obviously won't go to him anymore since he is now on injured reserve. Does Khalil Herbert have a chance? Well, he got cut in favor of Sincere McCormick and Zamir White, so I don't really think that any of the 3 guys on this side of the dividing line, Herbert, McCormick, or White, have a great shot to make the 53. So I think that leaves it to either Guerendo being activated off PUP to make the 53, or here's the wild card, Deebo Samuel, in effect, being the 49ers' 5th running back, even though he's playing receiver and also obviously counting toward that position. But it is a way to save a roster spot. It is very, very limited. If you look at my projection, I have a counter down here that has 55 53-man roster spots taken. Everything on the left side of this bold dividing line, those are players projected to make the 53, with a couple of exceptions, because guys who are on PUP might stay on PUP at the cut down and therefore not count against the 53. Mykel Williams is certainly a candidate for that. George Kittle is a candidate for that, although it seems to be trending toward him actually not being on the regular season PUP list. We'll see. And Isaac Guerendo is a candidate to that. So if you keep Guerendo and Mykel Williams on PUP, therefore forcing them to miss the first 4 games, you actually save 2 roster spots, 2 53-man roster spots if you're the 49ers. And therefore, this projection of players would fit on the roster, the 53-man, before the 49ers sign a practice squad of 17 players, including Isaac Alarcon, who is the international exemption. So there's still a lot to be determined here. The 49ers play the Chargers tonight. The starters are going to be in there for about a series. Then the 49ers play the Raiders next week. Training camp is essentially over at this point. They're now transitioning into dress rehearsal week. The final preseason game is always a chance for the football team to execute and practice things the way that they will in the run-up to an actual regular season game. That's why we call it the dress rehearsal. So that's against the Raiders next Thursday. We'll be in Las Vegas for that. So the 49ers, competitions, though, are never over, right? The bulk of training camp is behind us, but competitions aren't over. They still have to figure out some of these high-profile ones, like the left guard position. Obviously, we're looking at linebacker, that 3rd linebacker behind Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw. We're looking at that punt returner. We're looking at wide receiver with Jordan Watkins and Jacob Cowing and Will Pauling. We're going to get some important data points on all of those battles tonight at SoFi when the 49ers play the Chargers. And then we'll get some final data points next week when the 49ers play the Raiders. Then the cut down will happen. My point is that there still is quite a bit, even though training camp has technically ended, even though the 49ers are transitioning into that dress rehearsal mode, there still is quite a bit of information to collect before we know firmly how all of this stuff is going to break. We've got a good solid week of information still to collect, and then that roster cut down is going to happen at the end of August. But it is getting close, and we can set up tonight's game by taking a look at the roster. I could go through who's going to play, who may not play for the 49ers tonight, how long they're going to play, and what you should be watching. And I think that the visual here hopefully will help you guys understand how the 49ers are approaching tonight's game. All right, so here we go. Let's take a look at this. Let's go through this position by position. At quarterback, I would expect to see Brock Purdy for a series tonight, maybe a little bit more if that first series only lasts a few plays. Kyle Shanahan typically looks for 10 to 12 plays from his starters. I would then expect to see Mac Jones, probably not for all that long, but maybe a little bit longer since Curtis Rourke, I wouldn't expect to see him. He's doing okay, but coming off the rib injury, he was hospitalized as a precaution last week. I'm guessing that Curtis is going to get this game off. So you'll probably see a whole heck of a lot of Adrian Martinez tonight. On the opposite side, you're going to see the Chargers bring out Justin Herbert for one possession. That's what Jim Harbaugh told us. And then I'm sure we'll see plenty of Trey Lance. So it might be Trey Lance and Mac Jones in the game at the same time. I don't think that Purdy and Lance are going to be in the game at the same time, but I think that you'll see alternating series tonight between Mac Jones and Trey Lance to some degree, and then it will be handed off to Adrian Martinez for the 49ers. At running back, they needed to make today's move to have enough backs to get through the game. Obviously, you won't see McCaffrey tonight. You will see Kalon Black. This is going to be really exciting to watch in this football game because Kalon, his forte in college, he averaged 3.2 yards after contact per rush last year at Indiana. It was one of the best numbers in the nation. Well, guess what you can't do during practice? You can't show off how many yards you're going to get after contact because they're not allowed to tackle you to the ground. So preseason is the best chance to evaluate the tackle breaking ability of running backs. Now that Kalon is healthy, unlike last week, he was popping off in practice the other day. We're going to get to see him in a game tonight. Juszczyk, Garendo, James, you're not going to see those players, but you will see Herbert, whom the 49ers just re-signed. You will see Sincere McCormick, and you will see Zamir White. So the 49ers will have those running backs in this game. They will not have a true fullback in this game. They're going to be asking one of their tight ends or multiple of their tight ends to play fullback. They're probably going to run a lot of 11 personnel with 3 wide receivers, just like they did last week with Kyle Juszczyk still on the shelf. At receiver, I doubt that you'll see Mike Evans. You might see a possession of Deebo Samuel. You'll probably see a possession of Dejon Stribling. I don't know if he has all that much more that he needs to show in the preseason, but I do think the 49ers want him to at least work with Brock Purdy, probably keep him in there so that he works with Mac Jones as well in this game. Demarcus Robinson was a preseason star for the 49ers last year because he was suspended for the start of the regular season. Probably going to see a little bit more of him. But what I'm really excited to see is Jordan Watkins and Jacob Cowing and how they acquit themselves in this receiver battle because they're both going for that punt returner position. I think in the case of Jordan Watkins, he's more of a Z receiver, the flanker, which the 49ers really need somebody to fill, given the fact that Ricky Pearsall's done for the season. Jacob Cowing probably slots better as a literal slot receiver and an F receiver. But the crossover is the punt return job, and the 49ers need to nail that down. Cowing and Watkins both have college experience. Cowing might be a little bit better suited for it, shorter, shiftier, maybe a little bit better short area quickness. I know I mentioned the other day that Watkins muffed the punt, but what you can do in games will end up being what makes the 49ers comfortable with you or not at that punt return position. And I'm sure they're both going to get some opportunities today. Cowing especially is somebody we hadn't seen yet on a game day field in a long time because he was hurt over the course of the entire 2025 season, and he still was on the shelf with the hip flexor last week against the Titans. So Watkins and Cowing at that receiver position, that's what you're going to really want to watch tonight. They still have Malik Turner, Kadarius Hodge. Will Pauling is the dark horse. Same type of body as Jacob Cowing, shorter receiver, a lot of burst, but I think that Pauling's a little bit stronger. He does have punt return experience as well, so do not discount him because we know that Leonard Hankerson, the 49ers receivers coach, thinks that Will Pauling has been extremely impressive and physical when it comes to run blocking, and that's important for the 49ers. And don't sleep on Wesley Grimes. Even if he doesn't make this 53-man roster, the undrafted rookie out of North Carolina State, 6'2". He's skied up, has made a lot of impressive catches for the 49ers over the course of training camp. So today's going to be a chance to see if Grimes can take this another step. Speaking of Watkins, one more note on him. He was really good last week with those 6 catches. So if he can string together 2 straight weeks, give the 49ers a lot of comfort that he can play the Z receiver position. This ties back into what I was saying about the running backs. If Watkins can be your Z for at least 50% of the snaps. Overall, I'm talking the season, not tonight. But if he can take a lot of the Ricky Pearsall slack, pick that slack up, then you don't have to play Deebo Samuel at the Z. Deebo Samuel can exercise the tasks that the 49ers had hoped he would exercise while they're trying to sign him for several weeks. He can be that gadget weapon, and he could fill in at the running back room. And he could be your fifth running back by just like the numbers, by the way you're counting things. Right? So if pressure is taken off of the Z receiver position by a Jordan Watkins, then Deebo Samuel can rove around, and it just helps the 49ers roster math as they try to figure out how to fit as many good players as possible on this 53 man. Somebody's saying Deebo shouldn't be a starter. That's what I'm saying. Deebo Samuel is a gadget weapon for the 49ers in an ideal world. I don't know where to list him because it's really tricky on this depth chart to do that. But, here, why don't we just, for illustration's sake, why don't we swap Deebo Samuel and Jordan Watkins? Let's put Jordan Watkins right here. This would be an ideal world for the 49ers, and you can watch to see if they take some steps toward it tonight. And Jordan Watkins is the one that's going to have to earn their trust and earn the reps for that. Say Jordan Watkins impresses again. He had a very good game last week. Say, hey, if he wins the punt return competition, even better, that gives the 49ers more roster efficiency. If Watkins can actually be your Z, and I know Dejon Stribling is going to play all the positions. I mean, he's a stud. We know that. Evans is your X, but if Watkins can be one of your top three pure wideouts, that gives you flexibility with Deebo Samuel, who's obviously going to make the roster, to moonlight as running back and as a receiver. He could be that do-everything weapon. Remember, the key to this whole puzzle, when we're trying to identify what exactly the 49ers are attempting to do, is that they wanted to sign Deebo Samuel before they lost Ricky Pearsall for the year. So they did not want to sign Deebo Samuel to replace Ricky, even though the timing worked out as such. They wanted Deebo before Ricky's knee flared back up, which tells us, like, in an ideal world, the 49ers would have had Evans at the X. They would have had Ricky Pearsall at the Z. They would have had Dejon Stribling playing at that big slot. Those would have been your top three receivers. And then Deebo would have come in to be the bulldozer that could play both gadget receiver and running back. That's the ideal world for the 49ers. How closely can they reapproach that ideal world? Well, maybe Jordan Watkins playing the Z would allow the 49ers to get a little bit of the way there. I'm not saying he's as good as Ricky Pearsall, but he does have some promise for San Francisco. All right, tight end. Of course, we're not going to see George Kittle today, but we probably will see both Luke Farrell and Jake Tonjes. And both of those guys have had a good camp, especially Farrell has caught a lot of passes this camp. He has taken a big, big stride year two in Kyle Shanahan's system. You'll see a lot of Josiah DeGuara, Braden Willis, and Hayden Rucci, the depth at the tight end position for San Francisco. Offensive line is where the other really intriguing battle is happening. Right now, we've got Robert Jones listed as a first-teamer. He started last week against Tennessee, but obviously faced a tough challenge against Jeffrey Simmons and company. Connor Colby, I don't have making the roster right now. He's still in the competition, though, so we'll see what happens. But Carver Willis might get some first-team cracks for the 49ers during the game today, the rookie. I made a whole video on this from the Manhattan Beach Pier the other day. And the point of the video was the quote from Kyle Shanahan. None of the three competitors for this left guard position have impressed the 49ers enough yet to win the job, which is not a great sign. Will they platoon? They platooned a little bit there last year at left guard, right? When we saw both Ben Barch and Spencer Burford taking some reps. We essentially saw Connor Colby benched last year, which is why it never made sense to me that people were considering him the odds-on favorite. Lately, we've seen Robert Jones take those initial reps. We saw it during the preseason game on Thursday. But Carver Willis was out for a while, the rookie out of the University of Washington, the fourth-round pick. He was not available for a little while because of a concussion. Now he's back. Unfortunately, Brett Toth is still out, and that's concerning because that was a concussion as well. and Toth suffered 2 of those last year in Philadelphia. So you got to hope that Brett Toth is going to be able to make it back and hope that he's feeling okay after the concussion has sidelined him now for a couple of weeks of this training camp. Valerian Lowe, the swing tackle, is still out with the high ankle sprain. I would not expect Trent Williams to play tonight. I think the other starters will play: Brendel, Pooney, McKivitz, and then whoever. The left guard competition is obviously going to see everybody. Williams is one of those players that you bubble wrap no matter what. He doesn't need to play in the preseason. So the start at left tackle, probably with Purdy in there, will probably go to Austin Pleasance, who replaced Trent Williams last year late in the season when Trent was hurt with the hamstring injury. I don't think that they're going to trust Enrique Cruz Jr., the very raw rookie, to protect Brock Purdy's blind side against the Chargers starters on the first possession of this game. A little bit later, I think we will see Enrique Cruz Jr. in there, but I think to be safe, the 49ers are going to have Pleasance in at left tackle to begin this game. Colby might play both of the guard positions today, right guard and left guard, which just shows me that he's fighting to make a roster spot to show his utility, his adaptability. Nugent has made some strides. He's going to play the majority of today at center. Nick Zakelj is back for the 49ers. We'll see him at one of the guard positions. Brandon Parker, backup right tackle. He'll be in there later in this football game. And then probably Doug Kramer Jr. Colton will play. Mike asked me why not play Colton McKivitz with Brock Purdy. Colton will play. Colton's going to play right tackle. But who's going to play left tackle? Because I don't see Trent Williams playing tonight. I think it's going to be Austin Pleasance at that left tackle position. All right, moving on to the defense. Hopefully you guys like this little breakdown of how this is going to work for the 49ers tonight. See a lot of you online watching. I'm going to head to Beverly Hills. I want to go to this sandwich place. I'll let you guys know if it's good before I head down to SoFi. Game doesn't start till 7 tonight. Now, I will say with so many of you here, I do instant reactions after every one of these games live from the stadium. It's going to be late tonight. It's probably going to be after 10 p.m., but from SoFi tonight, what you need to do, and I'll set up the file early and you'll get a little notification. You need to hit a notification bell on your phone right now. You need to do that right now so that, and you got to subscribe as well, but you need to have it notify you when I set up the live and when I go live so you don't miss it, because it's going to be the most objective, most thorough, immediate post-game analysis that there is. I set it up and then I rush over into the 49ers locker room. So set that up. We're going to go over everything in depth after it happens tonight. We're going over everything in depth before the game starts right now. All right, here we go. Defense. No Mike Kell, obviously, still on PUP. Keon White was back at practice but didn't participate in team drills the other day. I'm going to take the injury tag off of him, but I don't expect to see him tonight. I don't think you want his first action in scrimmage work to be in an actual game. So CJ West has, we could put the injury tag on CJ West because he hadn't been practicing ever since he went down a couple sessions ago. So probably will not see CJ for the second straight preseason game. I would think that you see a little bit of Osa Odigizua tonight, maybe just a possession, just so he can knock off some of the rust with the 49ers planning to play the starters. But the player that I am most eager to watch is Alfred Collins, because he did not have a good preseason opener. I need to see marked improvement week 1 to 2 from Alfred Collins. He needs to be lower with his pads. He needs to not get washed out against the run. I would love to see some pass rushing productivity out of Alfred Collins. Because, at this point, if James Thompson Jr. might struggle a bit against the run, the taller defensive tackles can. They could be susceptible to that. But Thompson, the rookie undrafted free agent out of the University of Illinois, he's been really, really good, productive pass rushing. And I know it hasn't come against starting NFL offensive linemen. Whoever has been put in front of him at camp, he's had a solid go of it. So he should continue to earn bigger and more important opportunities. And if he's outperforming Alfred Collins, then the NFL is a meritocracy. I do not want to make any judgments prematurely, but I do see a concerning trend for the 49ers with Alfred Collins at that defensive tackle position as far as pad level goes and as far as pass rushing productivity goes. And I know he's coming off a shoulder surgery, but the 49ers have to cut down this roster soon. They've got to figure out who their best 8 are in this rotation. And when you have guys like James Thompson Jr. knocking on the door, when you have guys like Bryson Eason demanding of a roster spot, today is a really, really important game for Alfred to acquit himself better than he did last week. Grayson Halton last week was awesome. That was fun to watch. But Grayson got a little dinged up, a ankle injury after that game. So we might not see him tonight. I could go back to the roster here, show you guys what it looks like. Romello Hyde obviously will play. He's one of the fever backs. He's an edge rusher. 49ers are probably going to dig deep into their defensive end depth today with likely no Keon White, obviously no Bosa. Sam Okuwanu will play. Ogbo Okoronkwo had multiple sacks last week. If they stay as beaten up as they are right now or have been, I know they're starting to get a little bit healthier at the cut down, then Okoronkwo can make this team. They just signed Victor Dimukeje this week. They've had Quentin Bell and Xavier Thomas on this football team. So they're going to go deep into this situation at the end position. We're going to see all of these guys play for the 49ers. Moving down, we got the linebacker spot. San Francisco. Nick Martin is somebody who I am eager to watch as well. I mean, he had some flash plays last week, but linebacker is just one of those battles where the Raheem Morris fingerprints are becoming more and more clear with each passing week on this defense. Like Jaden Duggar's stock has risen day over day, week over week. First game was like, okay, Jaden Duggar's really going to play a lot for this football team. Length has been something that Raheem Morris is obviously prioritizing big time for the 49ers. Nick Martin doesn't have a whole lot of length. He's got a ton of explosiveness. He hits hard. I think that he's much better with angles and the playbook than he was at this time last year when he was an exceptionally raw rookie. But that was a learning curve that he underwent under Robert Saleh, not under Raheem Morris. So obviously you've got Warner and you've got Greenlaw, and those two guys are going to make the team. We'll see how much action they get today. Probably more for Warner than Greenlaw. Warner might just want to knock off some rust after not having played in a game since week 6 at Tampa last year. But what does Martin do? He probably plays the Sam and the Will. We'll see what he does in 3-4 packages. He probably comes off the field then. The 49ers are running some more hybrid 3-4 stuff. I love watching Duggar. You guys know, all about him and his just freakish measurements, right? So, I mean, he's a special talent that has played multiple different positions, and we'll see where all he lines up tonight. Larry Wirth is somebody who is knocking on the door of making this football team. And nobody's really safe, right? When you talk about the younger linebackers like Nick Martin, maybe the 49ers end up taking Larry Wirth instead of him because they're going to go for the size profile. And Larry had a sack last week. Larry's been sticky in coverage against some of these tight ends. I can't wait to watch the rookie from Arkansas, convert from safety, who brings 6'4" height to the linebacker position. I wonder about Tatum Bethune as well. I wonder about, but all of these guys have made plays. Bethune had the sack last week. Garrett Wallow has had some good track tackles for the 49ers. Jalen Graham is a taller linebacker who may fit Raheem Morris better. I just cannot wait to see exactly how Raheem Morris builds this room and this defense in the regular season, because the final cutdown should be fascinating at linebacker. And that by extension means that games like tonight will also be fascinating to see how the 49ers mix and match this. I just lost my this is the ring light that illuminates my face. I just knocked it down. That wasn't good. All right. It's back up. Getting a little too comfortable. It's a really nice like leather chair that they have here at the office in the hotel. And I was just like leaning back and I yanked it backwards and it just flew down here. All right, let's open this up again. Let's go to the secondary. I think we see some Lenore and Green tonight. I really do. Maybe some Upton Stout. That would be nice. Malik Mustafa still out with the hamstring, so I would think Siegel and Jair Brown at the safety position. Saran Neal's been playing safety instead of corner for the 49ers this year. I'm assuming things will move pretty quickly to Jack Jones and Ephesians Priceock. Priceock struggled a little bit in that joint practice against the Chargers the other day in El Segundo, but he's a raw rookie with really long arms. I think it fits the profile of what the 49ers want to develop at cornerback. So he just needs reps. Nobody's expecting him to light the world on fire this year, but we are expecting to see him play considerable snaps in this preseason game. Last week, we saw Jacob Robinson play nickelback. He's the second-year corner out of BYU. I would expect more of the same. And they've got Eli Apple and Darrell Luter Jr. aboard to finish this game at outside cornerback. I'm sure they'll play plenty of snaps here in week 2 of the preseason. Safety beyond Siegel and Brown. And Saran Neal's more of a special teams ace for the 49ers. So the guy's knocking on the door, trying to unseat one of the projected starters. And with Mustafa out, things are a little bit more complicated. But Ashton Davis and Patrick McMorris, especially Davis, he's made a few plays for the 49ers in practice. Freakish athlete, went to Cal. Shout out to the Golden Bears. Ashton Davis will have a chance to make some splash plays today. Maybe against Trey Lance. We'll see. Jalen Stroman, the rookie out of Notre Dame, also has an opportunity today to position himself in that safety battle as the cut down nears. Specialists here between the long snapper, the kicker, and the punter are set. Weeks, Pinheiro, Corliss Waitman. Waitman punted the crap out of the ball last week. That was impressive from Corliss Waitman against the Tennessee Titans. He had 2 inside the 10. I think they might have even been inside the 5. Then he had that 55-yarder that was muffed, and the ball comes off of his left foot, right? He's left-footed, and he got a nice spin on it. I think that there's different English that comes off of the left foot that is tough for returners. So we know Waitman's the real deal. I mean, the guy was top 10, even top 5 in many metrics last year for Pittsburgh. He's won the 49ers punting competition. I am more curious now to see what the 49ers return competition is going to look like. Well, everybody make sure that you ask your questions. Back to this again. I want to play it one more time for those of you who have just joined. Yesterday, Redondo Beach. It's been really bright, really sunny here in LA. I guess that's August in LA. It's not August in San Francisco, that's for sure. And then shout out yesterday, our boy Jake, the chef here at Dear Jane's in Marina Del Rey, the octopus. That salad was awesome. I don't normally like tomatoes that much, but I love those tomatoes. It was really good. And of course, the lobster bucatini. And Jake's going to get some airtime right here. He deserves some airtime right here. Fed us well the night before the game. There he is. I think he's describing dessert. Yeah, the dessert was great with the brownie, and it was elite. Elite food in Marina Del Rey. It's been a good week here in LA. 49ers practiced here on Tuesday, and now the 49ers are going to play a game against the Chargers. I believe they're going to practice back in the Bay Area on Saturday and Sunday. Dress rehearsal week incoming. Flight to Vegas for the 49ers on Wednesday. I am officially ready to answer your questions. I don't know Taylor's injury yet. I wasn't with the team yesterday. They didn't have practice yesterday. So I'm going to be heading to, they had a walkthrough at a local high school. I'm going to be heading to SoFi in a couple hours. I'll find out what Patrick Taylor's injury was. We're probably going to do a little pregame live. Maybe we won't. Well, we'll see if we do. Set your alarm bells, though. We're definitely doing the instant reaction after the game. But Taylor fractured his shoulder last year. Tough break for the 28-year-old running back who did seem to have a chance to make that 49ers 53-man roster. Eric Santos, today is Trey Lance's Super Bowl. Lance, Harbaugh, Mac Jones, Shanahan, Purdy, Herbert, Mike McDaniel, whom I ran into in Manhattan Beach the other day. I mean, all these characters involved. It's about as compelling of a preseason matchup as you can get. The game is at 7 p.m. Pacific. Yes, Nicole. I don't think that Curtis Rourke will be suiting up. I think they'll probably give him the week off. It would surprise me if he is, because he didn't practice the other day. But maybe he will. I mean, he checked out okay coming out of the hospital and all that. But I don't want to speculate one way or the other right now. I'll say I don't know. Jordan James fractured a rib, so I would think about 6 weeks from when that happened at most. And that happened early in training camp. I would think he's going to be back before the cut down, which is coming next week. No need to bring in a QB to play tonight. Nope. The 40, I mean, they've got Purdy starting the game. They have Mac Jones, he'll play this week, and they have Adrian Martinez. You only need 3 quarterbacks to get through a preseason game. I don't need to see Mac look better. I know Mac's a gamer. Mac is going to be ready once the regular season comes. He was shaky in camp last year too. Mac Jones, I think, is the best QB2 in football, and until proven otherwise, that's going to be the case. I am going to do one. I'm not going to get to Melbourne until the practice week, so probably Sunday night, Monday. But we'll do a meetup in Melbourne. We might do it in conjunction with one of the 49ers events just to make it easier, so I don't have to like pick a bar or anything like that, because they're going to pick a few there. Stay tuned. Follow the channel here. Follow my X, and I'll let all of you guys know. I will show you guys the good spots in Melbourne. That's the plan. I'm flying from San Francisco to Brisbane, first class. We'll do a show from the plane, 15-hour flight. Brisbane is north in it's going to be more like LA in terms of weather in Australia. Then I'm going to work my way down the Gold Coast. Then I'm going to fly to Melbourne after a couple days working my way down the Gold Coast. And I'm going to cover the 49ers at practice. We'll do some meetups. I might pop out to Sydney for a day. And then I have a surprise on the way home. I'm not letting anybody know what I'm doing on the way home yet, but there's going to be a surprise on the way home. So it's going to be good. I can't wait. I think I'm 13 days away. 13 days away from flying out from San Francisco to Australia. Of course. I mean, I'm 6'5". How do you think that what am I supposed to do? Like crouched in the economy seats or something for 15 and a half hours, and then I'm expected to bring you guys all these videos, and with all that jet lag, I'm still going to be jet lagged, but I've got to hit the ground running when I get to Australia. There's going to be no time to waste. Grayson Halton's been out with an ankle injury. I know people are asking me about him here. Armando is. So I don't know if he's going to play it. I don't think so, because they did sign Evan Anderson, a defensive tackle, the other day. I don't think that I actually updated it ever since they added Evan. Yeah, I didn't, because they put Titus Leo. Yeah, I still have Titus. One more change we need to make to this roster. Oh, there's Jake again. Let's remove this. Let's put this up on the screen. Let's take the comment down. Titus Leo had a concussion the other day, so we can remove him. And they added Evan Anderson, their former defensive tackle, now their current defensive tackle. And I think they added Anderson because Grayson Halton might not be available to go for at least a few days. So we'll see how that all works out for the 49ers. All right, guys, that is it. We'll talk to you soon.